Toward an Anarchy of Production, Part 2. Written by Jason Lee Byas. Read by Stephen Leger. In the first installment of this series, I explored the market process's role as a vehicle for liberatory social change. By allowing for alternatives, markets create competitive pressures which serve as a constant check on whatever institutions exist in a given society. Thus, I argued, healthy commerce is likely to weed out more dominating and oppressive institutions in favor of those that more genuinely meet the needs of those who use them. While this is certainly a point in favor of market societies, drawing attention to it might reasonably bolster a related worry by well-meaning leftists and anarchists who still oppose markets. The very forces that spur this permanent cultural revolution do so precisely because they create a space where we don't have to rely on the good graces of our neighbors. The bright side of that is that a society's prejudices, both explicit and implicit, lose much of their ability to restrain socially less favored individuals from bettering their own well-being. The dark side, some would argue, is that we lose our sense of community in the process. A new worry, then, might be that we're just stuck between two equally unappealing alternatives, either rigidly conservative communism or an alienating world of atomized individuals who can only relate to one another through buying and selling. Oppressive cultural norms can be hellish, but so can that crushing sense of isolation. Luckily, I don't think that's a choice we have to make. Putting a hard line of separation between markets and civil society is a mistake, and what distinction does exist will only get blurrier and blurrier in a free society. Just because one aspect of a given interaction is profit-seeking doesn't mean that it can't also be a source of social cohesion. Even in the world around us, where commerce and community are artificially fragmented by aggression and domination, we can already point to countless counterexamples. The coffee shops where book clubs and discussion groups meet are still coffee shops. Even though their original purpose was the pursuit of profit, they still create dependable spaces for communities to develop and grow. Local restaurants, record stores, music venues, bookstores, and theaters also serve the same function. When one of these establishments comes under the threat of going under, communities will often rally to keep them afloat. Rather than seeing that as a sign that people have been successfully fooled, we should take it to mean that businesses, like these, are an important part of the social fabric. Just as there is no necessary connection between profit-seeking and antisocial behavior, so too is there none between non-commercial association and pro-social behavior. Institutions where people relate to one another without money are not always ones that truly bring them closer together. And the absence of money does not mean the absence of treating others as a means to an end. Much of what we find scary about the hypothetical of a world where people only deal with one another through strictly commercial transactions is the total absence of genuine fellow feeling, in which we completely ceased to value one another as ends in ourselves. That cold state of affairs, however, can certainly occur just as easily without any money involved at all. Throughout history, marriages have often been arranged in order to strategically forge familial alliances. In such cases, the actual feelings of those forced to have and to hold in sickness and in health are taken to be irrelevant. The growing importance of trade has done a lot to fight that practice. This has come both through dramatic explosions in wealth in general, and by freeing people from dependence on their families. In other words, markets have actually been a major force in the decommodification of love. Furthermore, within more communal institutions and mutual aid projects, the existence of a surrounding market society is important for internal efficiency. When the resources you're using have corresponding market prices, those prices can serve as a guide for resource allocation, even when that allocation is not done through trade. Having some idea about the relative scarcity between two goods is crucial to ensure that you don't run out of an important resource. Greater economic efficiency also tends to bring about greater technological efficiency, showing yet another reason that non-commercial endeavors benefit from commercial societies. We can now Skype with friends in other continents, use message boards to discuss our more obscure interests with those who share them, and instantaneously distribute radical newsletters through PDFs. Less commercially viable bands can now record at a much better quality and share their sound with a much wider audience. Many diseases that once meant instant death are now easily preventable and easily cured. One day, we may even be able to 3D print food. So our choice is not between commerce and community. The choice is between a world where commerce and community interlock and one where we starve the latter by trying to abolish the former. The first option, market anarchism, involves a preference towards community of choice, where institutions must adapt in order to genuinely serve the interest of their members, and are more likely to actually do so. Attempts to eliminate explicit exchange do not succeed in eliminating commodification, but instead result in what we believe our relation of solidarity taking on a much more instrumental character. Anarcho-communists are right to point out that individuals are always and everywhere intimately connected to the society around them, and that the flourishing of one requires the flourishing of the other. The individualism of individualist anarchism is not a plea for isolation, but a call for communities worth having. The market process is a powerful force for both developing and maintaining meaningful social bonds of infinite complexity. In that sense, market anarchism shows itself to be the most truly social anarchism. This installment of Toward an Anarchy of Production, written by Jason Lee Byas, was the second in a series of articles detailing reasons that leftists, anarchists, and anti-capitalists should favor markets. Focusing on the interconnectedness of commerce and community, it draws heavily on ideas developed by Neera K. Badwar in her paper Friendship and Commercial Societies, and it is included in the second issue of The New Leveler. The New Leveler can be read or downloaded as a PDF at c4ss.org, and can be listened to on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie